Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to Throwing Rod's Garage. It's another beautiful day in the Ozarks. It's a lot chillier today, but I'm heading back up to the farm and I got to put that new ignition switch on the Polaris Ranger. I finally got one in from the dealership, so I'm going to slap that in real quick, and then we got to go back to another John Deere. He has two of them, and one of the shifter handles broke off, so I'll take you along with me. All right, now I'm here. I located the Ranger. They have been driving it, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this new ignition switch put in. Now to get this ignition switch out, it is fairly simple. You have two little push pins. You got one here and one here. You pull that out and this whole thing flips up. It's just got two little tabs up here that hold it in place. And then of course you pull out your key, you break this little nut loose, that falls out. I'll show you guys real quick. Now that I got these two little push pins out and I broke this loose, it is still wired up. So of course, just push it through, lift this little guy up, out of the way, and here's your ignition switch. And of course, it's got a little wire that you'll have to use a flathead screwdriver or something just to push that little tab, and then the wire will come out. Now, the old ignition switch out, I have my new one. Put it, the wiring connector back together, clicks into place, it locks, and there is a little dimple here somewhere that sets into place like so. I don't know if you guys can see it. There you go. And you put the lock nut back on it. If I can get my camera to sit still. Nope, I don't want to use that old one. There we go. These little plastic nuts are always hard to start the threads. And I'll tighten up this jam nut whenever I get this dash all put back together. So it's just got two little tabs. Sit down in here, hold it in like so. Grab your push pin. One. Two. Don't want to go too tight. I know I'm using vice grips, but I didn't want to grab all those other tools. This was sweet and simple. Now, we have ignition. And it starts. Works just fine. Next on the list is an Oregon 28-ton log splitter. Now, the return hose that goes to the tank has split, so I got to replace that, and I might as well replace the filter, the fluids, of course, because it's drained out all of it, and we'll go on from there. Here's the log splitter, and there is the wonderful broken hose. So, I'm going to take this one off so I know the exact size, and I'm going to run into town and pick up another one. I'll pick up another filter and all the fluid for this thing. Once I get that hose replaced, the filter and the fluid all filled back up like it's supposed to, the log splitter will be back in business. Well, I'm back from town. Didn't have much luck finding the exact style hose, so I had to come up with something that will be able to work just for the time being anyhow. So I'm trying to make it where I can get it on here and it will not kink or cause any issues. So this might be interesting. If we get it about right there, it might have a little bit of a kink, but it should be okay. So if I go further down and do that, it's going to kink it. So, well, best way to try it is to knock some off at least and start from there. I only sold it by the foot, so if I got just a little bit too long, at least I had enough to play with. I'll tighten that down. This one, if it'll get on there. There we go. it did that, it's too long. It's kinking. Can't have that. No, no, no. Now for the filter, I went ahead and ran with the wicks. Can't go wrong with the wicks. And I'm going to go ahead and pull it out of the box, take the plastic off, and pre-fill it. Now this log splitters fluid calls for either universal hydraulic fluid, which is what I've got, a AW32 or 46 type, or universal hydraulic. I mean, Dextron too. But let's see if I can make a mess. I figured I'd get the universal hydraulic fluid for one, because we're not going to use this whole 5-gallon bucket, but it's cheaper to buy the 5-gallon. Two, the tractors can use it. So don't have to pre-fill it all the way. I just want to make sure it's good. Has some in it. O-ring gets lubricated. Now I'll throw this wicks on. Out with the old. Again, make sure the old one has the old O-ring. Don't want to double gasket it. Yep. And with the new. Don't over torque it. You'll regret it. Now this one actually got quite a large opening, thankfully, and a nice dipstick, of course. Bone dry. Throw my rough looking, whew, that's dirty. I'm gonna clean it out first. Now it's clean. May not look like it, but it's stained from whatever fluids I put in it before. But it's clean, promise. Okay, we're at the very bottom of the OK. I don't know if you guys can see it, but just barely there. They lost every bit of it, which of course would, because that hose is at the bottom of the tank. I'm not going to add too much more. I'm going to go ahead and fire it up and run it through its cycle, because I do not want to overfill it. It's easier to add than it is to subtract when it comes to the fluid anyhow. All right, since I added it, I'm gonna go ahead and fire it up, let it run through its cycle, you know, do its thing quite a few times, make sure all the air is out of the lines. Here we go. Okay, it's already at choke. Fuel is on. Little cold natured still. The hose isn't shrinking any. Give it a log, see what it does. course, that's with the throttle not all the way up either. That's only about half throttle. So, I think it'll be just fine. I'm gonna run it a couple more times and make sure the fluid's full. Now that I've ran it for a while, split quite a few of the different little logs, so I want to make sure it's good and full. Got the armpit rag out, so we're good there. Double check it. Let's see, do we need to add some more? Yeah, we're right there at the bottom of the add. Well, at the bottom of the okay. So let's add some more. One last time. There we go. Right between the full and the okay. So it's about where I feel comfortable with it. We'll leave it right there. Well, the log splitter is ready to work. And since FedEx showed up, I'm hoping that's the shifter for the John Deere. We'll see. Next on the list, John Deere number 2. This is another 2850, just like the last one I worked on in the last video. But this one, they said, let's see, that the shifter broke. Zoom out because it's tight quarters in here. Yeah. It looks like it did. Well, I'm going to tear all of this apart so I can get the other half of this, and I'm going to weld it back up. Now that that little cover is out of the way, where the broken shifter part is at, there is one, if I can get back there, one little bolt there and one up front. As soon as you take those out, this little broken part, it's supposed to rock back and forth, okay? But I think last time I pulled off this guy, which is just a small little pin, that will allow this side to rotate further back so I can drop this out and lift the whole shifter base out. And then I'll just go back, weld that up. Well, I'm going to clean it up really good, grind it down, weld it up. Since the new shifter didn't show up today, wonderful, but that's okay. I mean, it's right after the holidays. I feel so bad for the mail carriers and all those shipping companies. I know it was probably hectic. They're probably far behind, but hey, it happens. I can take this apart, weld it back up, and it'll be just fine until it doesn't, which I don't know why it shouldn't last, but we'll have the other shifter waiting for when this one breaks. I don't want to drop that. And there we have it. I already got the other bolt out, of course. So I'm going to go back to the shop, weld up the shifter back to this little bracket, and we should be good to go. Well, here it is. It ain't the prettiest, but I'm going to grind it down. It should be perfectly good and strong. I'm just going to grind it down flat because whenever it sits in that slot, you know, it's in a small little bitty spot, and you don't want to have any of these rough edges, but it's a little hot. So I'm going to let it cool down a little bit, grind it down, paint it back up. Once it's all finished, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the tractor, install it, make sure it works just fine, and then head to the next thing on the list. Well, like they say, a grinder and paint will make the welder I ain't. Let's go get this shifter put on. Maybe. Now it's just a matter of putting it all back together. Put the cover back on, put the bolts on, and we'll take it for a quick spin. And there we have it. It's all put back together. Don't make fun of the wooden little handle shift knob. Works fine. This one, I don't know what happened to it. It was there 2 weeks ago. Oh well, I'll have to see whoever made this one can make us another one. Let's get this thing fired up. Works like a charm. All right, drove good, shifted fine. Shifter's holding up so far. So off to the last project of the day, I do believe. I guess you could say that I saved the easiest for last. Well, technically the easiest was resetting the lock settings on the 2017 Ford F-350. I didn't record that. It was just sweet and simple, in and out. But the last one is they have a pair of them. Here, I'll just show you. They have a pair of these. This one is the 54-inch cut. The other one is a 60-inch cut. This one had a dead battery. They were trying to get it off the trailer. The battery was dead, of course, so they just pushed it out here, and they don't want it out in the weather. It's just right here at the edge, so I'm going to put the charged battery back in it. Somebody accidentally left the key on. And I'm going to move it over here for the time being, and I think that'll be about it for the day. There wasn't much more on the list. I'm going to double check it before I leave, though. But I'm going to get this battery slapped in real fast. It's a little filthy. I need to get this one cleaned out a little better. Perfect. Now with the battery installed, we'll see if this bad boy will start. Choke it. There we have it. It's parked out of the weather now. Of course, they always stay out of the weather. They stay in the machine shed, especially during the winter time. But come spring, they're going to get serviced, all that good jazz, and get ready for a whole bunch of mowing. Those mowers stay going almost every day. They've got tons of hours on them, but hey, they're a good mower. Can't complain. So I'm going to double check my list and see what else I have left. And I'm pretty sure that was the last one, but it's always better to check and be safe. Well, everyone, that was the last thing that was on the list today, thankfully. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. If you could, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.